Hi, everybody. My name is Joe, and I am a member of Al-Anon. Can you hear? Can you guys hear me? Okay. First of all, I want to share a little bit, just a little bit. I don't know how long. But I want to tell you, when I walked in today, I said, I'm Joe, and I'm from Al-Anon, and the gal checking me in said, Al-Anon rocks. And I had to say, that's funny you should say that, because I love rocks. If you've ever been in my home, I have rocks all over, inside the house and outside the house. And because I knew I was talking today, my rock is Christ the Savior. And I put a rock in my pocket when I have to do something that I'm very afraid. And He is with me. So here is the rock. You're right. We rock on. So, but I really am honored and thrilled that you've asked me to come. I know Melissa wanted to find the courage to change. I've been in Al-Anon a long time, and I'm kind of a renegade. Some of the people that know me real well know that I just don't like these new books. And when I came in, one day at a time is what we had. And some of the readings are phenomenal, and I think the one from today was phenomenal. Anyway, so about me. I checked my buttons. I buttoned all my buttons, and they're straight, so we're in good shape. But, it is an honor to be here. When I was growing up, I grew in a home with lots of drinking and fighting and all this stuff, and my mother was one of these that absolutely threw the hissy fit. She was the one that would, I never did much drinking, when I got older, but they did lots of drinking and fighting. It wasn't much fun. And then when I got married, Rick and I were just kids, and he talks about, like, he remembers going down to the Legion with my dad, and my mother would come in the back door at the Legion, and she'd throw the doors open, and she'd be, Tom, Henry, what are you doing? Anyway, so I was trained. You go looking for them, you let them know what you think of it, and that is not a good thing to do. When we were newlyweds, young married, most of the time we only had one car, so I couldn't always go to the bar and find him. But telephones, we had the telephones with the cords hooked to the wall. Some of you people don't even know what that is. And, you'd stand this far from the wall and you'd make all these phone calls, and you couldn't wander, you couldn't do anything. But anyway, I did my share of making phone calls. Usually I could track him down. But anyway, that was the early part of my life. We have 2 sons, and I don't know how an Al-Anon can give a lead without sharing a bit of the alcoholic story, because it involves so much of what we do, what we're all about and everything. And I remember the last night that I knew I could live this way. And I had been up most of the night waiting for a drunk to come home, and my youngest son was 3 going on 4. And he didn't sleep good. He got up early and all this stuff. And he told me, Mommy, Daddy's not coming home. And he got up like at 4 o'clock in the morning that day on a Sunday morning. He kept telling me, Daddy's not coming home. He's not coming home. And he ended up being right, because we had a short separation, and Rick tried the geographical cure. It didn't work very well for him. He went with his parents to Florida, and, that was all that kind of stuff. But anyway, those kids, they're good now. We've been around a long time. Our youngest son is 39, and our oldest son is 41. And anyway, so those kids have seen a lot of things. They went with us to a lot of meetings when they were little, and it's been a good part of our life. But for me, I love going to Al-Anon. I love the fellowship. I loved meeting people, but I wasn't always okay to talk. I was real introverted. I knew no one. I was a very unhappy person. And part of that is because I am deaf. I wear hearing aids. I don't hear well, and lots of times I don't have a clue what's going on, but I just fake it. And I have always done that all of my life. But I really was very unhappy, and I know he was too. When I started going to Al-Anon, though, the chain started breaking away, and I started being able to talk to people, and I started being able to see that I could have a life. They told me I didn't have to live in that crap. And I remember my very first meeting, one of the ladies said to me, it'll probably have to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. And I don't know if I was just stupid or gullible or what, but when they told me things when I first came into the Al-Anon program, I believed them. I believed when they said it's going to get worse before it gets better, it's going to, and they said, let it happen. Don't stop it, don't block it, let it happen. Let it get to work and start getting better. They also talked to me about how many times some of the things we go through in living in that situation is I can never forgive him for that. And they talked to me about if you want to be forgiven, you have to be willing to forgive. That doesn't mean I have to wait for somebody to come say to me, will you forgive me? But I had to be willing to forgive, because otherwise, watch out. Otherwise, you'll get backhanded. No. Anyway, so, and Rick can vouch for it. I don't know if anybody else knew me in the early years, but I was. I didn't know anybody. I was unhappy, couldn't talk to people, and ended up with many things happening in our lives. That same little kid, I wrote on my name tag Joe Boyle, because when Rick first sobered up, we live out by Leo, little area, and we were at a restaurant, and there were like 3 or 4 tables put together, and the guys were all sitting at one end, and I was at the other end of the table, and that 3-year-old, back then they had paper they put on the butter, and it said AA. Now, we were in a community of our people, and our son looked at it, and he said, hey, Dad, like Rick was way down there, hey, Dad, you can use this, it's AA. So we knew Anonymous wasn't going to be a part of our lives. And so anyway, we've always been very open. We were blessed with meeting people in the program who were willing to work with us to help us put our marriage back together. I have told people many times, I've had 4 or 5 husbands, and they're like, wow, And then I say, but it's the same man. We were kids when we got married, then we went through the alcoholism, and then we went through the time of sobering up, and then we had a severe illness in our lives, and things have just changed, but we've worked through it. God has given us the blessings that we can work through it, and it is a good life. It is such a good life, and we've had ups and downs, and there's been times, when we had to be gut level honest, and that's what we learned in the program. When he learned, well, I'll back up. When he gave his very first lead, I was sitting at a round table like this, and he's up there talking, and he started talking about how I came into AA and decided I was going to get me one of them AA women. Get rid of that old battle axe that I got and get this AA woman, and that was the first time I'd heard that. I don't know how he felt when he found out that I used to pray for him to die. Because I didn't want to live with him anymore. I didn't want this kind of life anymore. And so I imagine the feeling that I had, pretty similar when he found I was praying for him to die. But, anyway, but like I say, we've gone through a lot of different things. We've had some real hardship. And there's people who say there's some things you just can't get over. I don't remember how long we'd been in the program. I love Al-Anon. And I tell people all the time, your life can be much better. You start applying some of the slogans, you start doing the readings. And when I first came in, I didn't have anybody talking to me about steps. I mean, we read about them in our book, but it didn't tell us how to do anything with them. Yep, we got these steps, and I didn't know how to do that. And you could see the guy I married, that first one, he hardly ever read. If he bought a Playboy magazine, he didn't read words, he just looked at the pictures. That's just the way it was. And after he got into AA and started reading the big book and going to speaker meetings, and when he first started, I was an AA widow. He went to meetings and I was still home. He went to the bar and I was home by myself. He went to meetings and I was home by myself. But he started meeting people, and he started working with people in our home. And some of those people that were willing to work with us to help put our marriage back together, they were so willing to have us in their homes. And that was AA, kitchen table AA. And that is the best. And we learned to have fellowship with other AA people. And we were on an AA bowling league. We did work making wood together. They would get a bunch of them together and do firewood, and the women would make food, and we'd just have a good fellowship time. But the people that worked with us trying to put our marriage back together taught us to be winners, you got to stick with winners. You got to do what they say. Sometimes it didn't make any sense, but it was good because they were right. They were right. And I was a Christian as a teenager, but then I got to like 17, 18, and I knew best. I started doing my own thing, and I still was a believer. He was not, but I was a believer. But I figured if Jesus came in and I was doing this would be fine. Crazy thinking. But anyway, after he was in the program a while, and his sponsor pretty much said, you either got to do this or you aren't going to make it. So when Rick became a Christian, we became a church family and all this stuff. It was good. It was good. It was also embarrassing. I'll back up. I have not mentioned at all our oldest son. He's something else. Our oldest son, when he was in the 5th grade, he went to spend the night at a friend's house, and I'm a pretty nice person now. I am. I'm a nice person. But our son was in the 5th grade, and he spent the night at his friend's house, and they had a 6th grader, a 5th grader, and a 4th grader. All 4 of these boys were jumping around on Mrs. Bates' couch. And she came in, and like most mothers would do, what the are you doing, and blah, 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 blah. And then she looked at Kenny, and she said, oh, Kenny, I'm so sorry. I know you guys are church-going people, and I shouldn't have been talking like that. And he said, oh, Mrs. Bates, that's fine. My mom cusses like a sailor. And I did. I did. I was pretty foul-mouthed, and sometimes I can slip back into that. So some of these things are a struggle. So with this program and with the Lord's help, I have been able to overcome many things. I used to be a chimney, really smoked, and I kept thinking today, I wonder if I ought to ask anybody that's smoking to go out there and have one for me, and I decided, nah, I really don't want that, so I feel good about that. So I'd been going to Al-Anon for a while, and we've made lots of friends, and we were doing things, and it was like he was growing. And I had done some growing, but I was right here. I just couldn't get beyond anything. And we were having a heated discussion. And in that heated discussion, he said to me, when are you going to do anything about the steps? When are you going to do something? And he'd been working with so many people in our home. He sponsored a lot of people, and I could see these people changing and blossoming and growing. And I said to him, well, if you think you're so smart, and you help all these people, teach me. Help me. I don't know how to do it. I don't have anything that's teaching me how to do it. So we started with that, and he started teaching me out of the big book. And I tried to get our meeting that I went to, my Al-Anon meeting, I tried to get it that we could have a big book study. And there were some people that had been in Al-Anon longer than me that never came to our Leo meeting, and when they found out that that's what I was pushing for, they came to the meeting and said, oh, what are you doing? That is only for alcoholics. You cannot use that book in your meeting. And I didn't understand it, and I still don't, because our 12 steps came from you guys. So anyway, so that's what was happening there, and so it got stopped. Rick and I went out to South Dakota one time. We love the Black Hills. And thank you.
Gotta watch those Al-Anon. You'll break it.
Anyway, we went to Hill City, South Dakota. We are not motorcyclists. We don't do the rally. But we went to an AA meeting out there, and we met this really nice old guy. Anyway, he and his wife used to have, I think Bill used to go there before he died, didn't he, or just Lois? Okay, Lois would go out there and stay with them in their home. And in the morning they would get up and have their devotion time and all this. And they talked to Lois about the big book. And they asked Lois, what do you think about Al-Anon's using the big book? According to this man, what Lois said to them was, where else will they get the instructions of how to take the steps? So it made no sense to say we can't use the big book. But anyway, so here we are. We heard that's how she said to do it. You need them. And we've had many, many big book studies in our home, and I love that. And kitchen table AA, only thing good. It's great. When our oldest son turned 18, our lives were put on a real, we had a light switch in that kid. He used to be the neatest little kid, and then when he got about 18, he turned, and it was crazy, and you know, he ended up robbing and stealing and ended up going to jail. And I remember, because that's heartbreaking when you go through that stuff, and you feel like, what's happening here? But what I realized and what I shared many times when we were going through that time was that it wasn't going the way I wanted it to. But I had faith, and I knew that God had it in His plan. And I have lived my life feeling this way ever since. Whatever the circumstances, whatever you're going through, whether it be marriage problems, alcoholism, cancer, sickness, changes in your life, God prepares us for a ministry to be ready to help anyone that's in that type of a situation. So whatever your deal may be, I hope you can kind of get a grip of that, because when some of the things are going on that we don't want to have in our lives, that we'd do anything not to do it, if we can remember that God has the plan, we can make all kinds of changes. And of course, I learned in Al-Anon. Maybe I was smart before that, but I learned you cannot change another person. I don't know if you alcoholics know that. That might be news for you. You can't change another person. But anyway, so when we were going through that time, and people would say, how's Ken doing? You know, how are you handling this? And I would say, it's not going the way I want it to. It's not the way I dreamed it would ever be for him. But I know God's got the solution. He's got the answer. And if my son has to die in this deal, that'll have to be, but God has the plan. I can't change him. I can't control him. I quite often in our meetings, because people, you know, we a lot of Al-Anons are women, but not all of them. Anyway, I always say, when you got a little kid, you got different responsibilities. When you have adult kids or teenage kids, when they're adults, you love them, and you get to say, bye, go home, and then you get to have your home. You get to have your life. You don't have to be sucked up into that. I want to share this part, that when we were going through those real rough times, and I don't know why it always seemed like we would be standing in the bathroom, but we'd be standing in the bathroom, and I know Rick and I would have to hold each other's hand and say, our marriage is far more important than what this kid's choosing to do. I mean, he's making his choices, but our marriage is far more important. We want it to stay together. So I clung to that, remembering, too, that our marriage is far more important. And now we've got this commitment that there's a D word. We don't even have it in our vocabulary. So that is a good thing. Now let me think. I feel very blessed because how many years did you say you had? Where did he go? He's gone. Anyway, Rick and I, on September 1st, had an anniversary of our first date. No, I lied. August the 1st, we had an anniversary of our first date, and it was 43 years ago. October 2nd, we will have the anniversary of our marriage, and it was 43 years ago. So, you know, we didn't have the long, drawn-out thing, and nope, I wasn't pregnant. We hadn't been married long enough to even, you know, so anyway. Anyway, but that was that part. Now more into today, though. I'm comfortable in my skin. I worked at Graybill Hardware for 19 years. I never could have done that if I hadn't had the program to help me build up my self-esteem, to learn that I am an okay person. Yep, I don't have straight hair. I don't have long hair. I can't hear. All these different things. But I like people, and I care about people. And when I would work at the hardware store, it's no big deal, but it meant a lot to me. And because I liked my customers. Well, about a year ago, I got sick, and I have balance issues, and my doctor told me I couldn't work anymore, and I had to file for disability, and it went slick. It went so, I couldn't believe it went slick. I had so many people telling me, you got to get a lawyer, you got to fight him, you got to, all this stuff, and I had a good friend who helped me to deal with those frustrations, and I filed in August, and I got it in December. So that was awesome. That was awesome. And I believe it's because I wasn't fighting the system. Anyway, but because I can't be there anymore, I miss those customers because they weren't my customers. They were my friends. And my husband understands that. And the other night he took me to Graybill Fair so we could walk around and I get to see people. And I had somebody tell me today that when they come in there, it's just not the same. It's not the same. And I tell people now, thank you for saying that because it means a lot to me. But reality is, I know if it weren't for this program in my life, I'd just be standing here and I'm not doing too bad. I knew that I could get up here and talk, and it would be anywhere from 3 minutes to 3 hours. I'm past the 3 minutes, so we're still in good shape. About the Al-Anon, though, there's so many good things in the program, but there's so many things that are misunderstood. And, like I said, for me, when I came in, and I didn't have anybody explain to me about the step work and how important that is. And I love the theme, the man in the bed, helping someone else. That's not just true for the alcoholic, it's for all of us. We need to be ready to reach out our hands, be ready to help someone. No matter what we're doing, we might be the only big book, we might be the only Jesus, we might be the only anything people will see. And, it's easy to walk around and be mad and grouchy and have that sour face, but, people joyful and happy and free as we can be, this program has blessed us with that. That's what people want to see. That is the attraction. We don't have to do any promoting. It's the attraction of the glow of our lives. And, yep, a lot of us aren't very rich. We're not very famous. We're not anything. We're just regular old people. But we have hearts that are willing to love and share. And, again, I want to say thank you for letting me come. But I don't know if I'm done yet. Keep going. Okay, I'll rattle. Okay. Part of the stuff I have learned, I just learned this, like in the last 4 years, I think. My mother explained to me, because I never understood with my hearing. I never got hearing aid till I was in 3rd grade. So everything I learned to do, I learned by copying. I watch what you're doing, and then I know that's what I need to do. And but my mother just explained to me about, I think it was 4 years ago, you never got hearing aids earlier because she thought I'd get better. And I did not realize the guilt that she carried for that. She felt like she caused it, and she thought I would get better. Cool story about my mom. She's 85. Well, no, she will be 85 next Sunday. And when in August, the beginning of August, before I did the disability thing, I got to go to Social Security. And lots of us, our mothers took us to get our driver's license. How many of you had your mother take you to sign up for Social Security? I did. My mom loves that. And because I do have troubles, sometimes I'm way off balance and all that stuff. And I used to use my neighbor's house. I'd look, and if her siding was doing that, I knew that was not a day for me to drive. So I very, very seldom drive now. And I'm able to accept that stuff because it was God's plan. It's not what I'm wanting, but it's God's plan. And it is good. It is good. I know that through the years, in AA, the fellowship, the fun we can have together when you have a chance to do something like this, or we used to be involved. We had stone soup every year. And I was the proud owner of Black Rock. Of course, I'd have the rock. I still have it. But I think that rock was cooked for 13 or 15 years, and it never did get done. Those are the times when we get together. You know, we go to meetings. Back in the old days, we went to meetings, and maybe we'd have washed cups. Or back in the old days when everybody smoked, and everybody, you know, we could smoke in the meeting rooms. We sat around and we talked. But nowadays, it's different because we don't wash dishes, so we don't need to be in the kitchen doing that. And we don't sit around smoking and talking in the meeting because you have to go outside. Well, in the wintertime, it's cold. You want to go home. It's kind of a sad thing that some of the things have broken away, but we can reinstill that. You know, the friendship and the love that we can give to each other is so important. And I'm about empty-headed. I would encourage you, if you do not have a rock, you need to have one. I mean, I drive people. I know what I'm going to tell you about. See, you learn in this program how to be flexible. Now, and we learned in June that we were going to get to move. And so I've been this summer going through stuff and boxing up stuff. And, you know, we knew we were going to get some notice when we were doing this. And so I've got all these boxes in the garage, and I still have lots of stuff. And last Friday morning, I got a phone call. You can move tomorrow. Tomorrow? Oh, man. So we spent last weekend moving. I don't know where my necklace is. There's things we don't know, but we went with it. And it's been very, very interesting. But people helping me move were like, what are these rocks under your coffee table? What are these? I have them everywhere. I truly am a rock fan. And I don't know what that's got to do with anything, but I think sometimes I just need something tangible. I used to be really good with names, and I'm not so good anymore. Sometimes I get real frightened. Sometimes the words aren't coming out of my mouth right, and I don't know. They never really did determine what exactly is wrong with me. They called it inner ear migraine with no pain. But they checked. I don't have any brain tumors. I don't have anything like that going on. But some of the things that my side effects things are kind of scary when I'm trying to talk and all of a sudden people are looking at me like, are those English words or what are you doing? And but this program has given me the grace to accept whatever will be, will be. And the other good new slogan that I hope they get in new books, all of our books, is, so how's that working for you? You know, so many of us want to keep doing it our old way, or we want to just tweak it a little bit and think, oh, this will take care of it. Really, think about it. How is that working? Most of the time we have it screwed up. I guess I'm just going to end with this, that trust in God, stay in the program. If you don't have a sponsor, grab one, make friends, and be ready to help anybody you can. With that, I want to say thank you for letting me come talk. And Rick, I love you.